everybody, you're listening to So Many Sequels. I'm Josh.
I'm Andrew.
Every time. I'm Garrett.
And I am
See,
David.
you say it like every time you don't do something crazy.
I
too.
just said my
you
name
both
normal.
do something crazy.
I just
almost
usually
They go,
every time.
I'm Garrett.
When we started this, I was doing a weird name thing. And then Andrew started doing it, and he stole my shtick. So then I stopped doing it.
Well, I feel like we all
I
have
go
our...
back and listen to those early podcasts. I do something weird.
sure.
And
We
then
all
Andrew
have-
started doing something weird, and I stopped.
Sure.
We all have our own rhythm, you know.
This
He
is all
goes,
totally
I'm
original.
Josh. He goes, I'm Andrew.
Mr.
You go,
Garrett,
I'm
I will give
Garrett.
it back to you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you've already stolen enough of
Here
my
we go.
stuff. You
Thank
cheat
you for
on the
letting me
game.
use it
Like,
for this much
whatever.
amount of
Just
time.
be a dishonest person. It's okay.
All right.
Hey, thank you for letting me use it for this amount of time.
Wheel started spinning off this one fast.
You know what? You're both being stinky Pete's right now. Today on the show, we are talking about Toy Story 2.
Whoa, hello.
Released in 1999, Toy Story 2 is the follow-up to, shockingly enough, Toy Story.
Whoa, get out.
This is Pixar's third movie, right after A Bug's Life.
This is their third one?
Yep.
Yep.
I
Third
didn't
one they did.
realize that.
Yeah, they did toys. They had a 3-picture deal with Disney, and Disney, after Toy Story was so successful, they said, "You're making a sequel to this."
This was also supposed to be directed video release,
It was.
Yep.
Wow. How about that?
but Disney liked it so much that they made it a theatrical release.
Dropping
Last minute.
bombs on me early in the show. How about
Yeah.
that?
So Toy Story 2, like I said, came out in November 1999. We're at peak Y2K craze.
Oh, yeah.
Has nothing to do with that, though, of course. Toy Story 2 follows Buzz and Woody. Buzz is now an integrated part of Andy's family, and everything's happy-go-lucky until one day, Andy's mom decides to have a garage sale. Woody gets his arm cut.
Yep.
Yeah.
He gets shelved. He goes down to save another toy. He gets thrown into a box, yada, yada, yada. He ends up at Al's Toy Barn.
Kidnapped by Al himself.
In the arms of a collector, a toy collector, Al, who is collecting the full set of the Woody's Roundup toys. Woody finds out about this other family he never knew he had. We'll get into that, I'm sure. And it becomes a story about Woody's place in the world. Does he belong with his quote-unquote new family of Woody's Roundup toys? Or does he belong with Andy and the other toys at home in this weird limbo of time where Andy's growing up and maybe he doesn't want to play with dolls much longer? There's a lot to talk about.
I'm gonna give a little tease
Uh-oh.
for people here.
Whoa, hell.
At some point in time in the show, Josh and I are going to have a very interesting conversation about Jessie.
Okay. I don't know that it's going to be as interesting as you're teasing.
I think it will, because I
Okay.
think that my interpretation is pretty interesting.
Okay.
Because I just came up with it.
All right. I feel like I'm going to agree with the interpretation and still feel like that doesn't
Who knows?
excuse
Maybe
it.
I'll disagree with you
You could.
for a change of pace.
I would. I welcome all conversations.
Well, I disagree already.
Okay. So, with that said, what's everybody's one word to describe Toy Story 2?
Mature.
Legend.
No.
Wait for it.
No, I swear to God, every single one is going to be the same word. I'm already going to tell you.
I'll say heartwarming.
Okay. I will say family. Cool. All right.
That's good.
All right.
That's good.
Well, so last time we talked about our earliest Toy Story memories. Everyone who has memories at least talked about it. I have a Toy Story 2 memory I wanted to talk about real quick. I remember in 5th grade is when this came out for me. I was at I did the after school program in elementary school, so I would hang out in the gym with all the other kids for a few hours until my parents could pick me up, take me home. And I remember one day we got to watch Toy Story 2. They wheeled in the TV into the gym, and we're all like, TV! Because you know that feeling when you walk in and the TV's getting wheeled.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh,
You know it's about to
It's
go
gonna be a
down.
good day. Can we turn the lights out?
Yeah, and they're like, Toy Story 2. Dun, dun, dun. And that may be, I don't really remember seeing it in theaters. That may have been the first time I saw it, was on the video cassette.
I don't
tape
recall.
In the elementary school. So that's my Toy Story 2 memory, just to throw that out there real quick.
Okay.
Any others? Any other Toy Story 2 memories?
I saw Toy Story 2 just before Christmas. again with my grandpa.
Uh-huh.
Same guy. And yeah, we saw it in a packed theater, and I believe when did this come out? 99?
You were 17.
I was in my
1999. How old were you in 99?
I think I was 14.
No, I was really close.
Yeah. I was 4. I think it was like 13 or 14.
No,
at the
I
time.
was 9.
And I recalled that I really did not want to see this movie.
Really?
Yep.
Why?
Because I was an angsty teenager, and
I
I'm
want
like,
to see a toy movie.
I
for
figured
kids.
like by then I was just like, I'm too old for this stuff. I don't want to watch no animated movie. And my grandpa took me to it, and I'm like, threw all that shit out the window.
So even after watching it that first time, did it not win you over at the time?
No, it did win me over.
Okay.
That's what I meant, like throwing all that shit out.
Oh,
the
okay.
window.
So you saw it and you were like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah.
My heart grew 3 sizes then.
Yeah, like it just.
Okay.
Yeah, because like again, I was an angsty teenager, and I'm just like, I don't want to
Weren't
watch
we
this.
all?
This sucks. So
I'm glad you were wrong.
I don't remember watching it for the first time. I don't have like a specific memory of that. I feel like I do remember when I got it, because I remember a lot of people saying like, "Oh, Toy Story 2 was so great." And I remember being like 10 or 11 years old, and being like, "I mean, it was all right." Like it wasn't like I remember being like it
It's
wasn't
no Shawshank.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I was like, it's no Toy Story 1, let's face it. But I remember at some point rewatching it, maybe when I was like 13 or 14, about the same age Andrew saw it the first time, and going, oh, like I started to get it. I started to get what the movie was actually more about, you know. And I do remember being a certain age and trying to pause it at the exact moment that Bullseye jumps out of a box for the first time. Like before you meet Bullseye and Jessie and the rest of them, Woody's trying to get out, and behind him a box just springs open, and you see like packing peanuts go flying.
Yeah.
And I remember being very very anxious as a kid to try to pause it at that exact moment, because you can see him for just like one frame. You can see Bullseye mid jump coming out of the box, and I was like, oh, I caught it. There it is. That's him right there. You know, it was because it's like one frame, and then like the next frame he's gone. The frame before that he's not there. It's very blink and you'll miss it.
You talk about
That is
this
a weird
one,
story.
not digging it or whatever. I've heard several people say that they like this one better than the first one.
I know,
And that surprises me, because this has always been, and I say least favorite in a sense of like they're all like on the same line of closeness. But like of the 3 that have come out to this point, Toy Story 2 has always been, it's been like 3 and 1 are interchangeable. Sometimes they flip-flop back and forth, but 2 is always the one that's at the bottom.
right?
And so when I heard several people talk about how much they love Toy Story 2, I was floored. And I still don't fully understand that. Like, watching it this time, I remembered how much I do enjoy it. Because it's been a long time since I'd seen the second one. But I'm somewhat surprised. And I can't quite figure out why people enjoy it more. I think there's more action and going on, and they talked about in some of the special features that it's a very tight movie. Everything kind of flows and goes really well, but for it to be anybody's like top is strange to me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could have understood that prior to Toy Story 3 coming out, but I didn't get it then. I have learned to appreciate this movie much more as I've gotten older. Just the themes that they get into of like love and like accepting yourself, accepting your fate, you know, is just it just really stands out as like they weren't content to just tell like a goofy movie about toy characters with a bunch of toy puns. They really decided to make like a story out of this.
All right. So what are our favorite parts?
I really like the cleaning scene with the toy surgeon that comes in and makes Woody look good.
Yeah.
Like that whole setup is really fun to me. Like
Mr. Ollivander over there.
yeah, I like his little barber chair that he has. I like the stuff he's doing with the magnifying glass. Just like this whole setup that he has, it's very enjoyable. It's a nice like. It seems like a break from the whole movie, which is very like go. And this is like a take a minute and like attention to detail and make sure that everything is nice and perfect in the way that it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And I just like that whole aesthetic.
It's one of those very oddly satisfying videos you see on like YouTube or Instagram, just like somebody perfectly slicing something.
Yeah.
The way his like brush perfectly goes up Woody's foot to
Yep.
erase Andy, even though it's a sad moment. It's like, ooh, that was crisp. That looks good. When he's painting over it, when he's like fixing what I call Woody's bald spot, the little spot on his head that's like the paint's worn down, he fills that in.
Yep.
Polishes his eyes. It's very oof. I don't know something about it.
Yeah.
Favorite scene, Josh? Or moments?
I got the air the wrong way. There's a couple that I really like. The first one that comes to mind is I love the callback of Buzz proving that he's the real Buzz by taking off the other Buzz's helmet. And then doing what he should have done the whole time was just show his foot, this is Andy, and that would have settled it from the start. But I just really liked seeing another Buzz pretend to choke for air. that cracked me up. And it was cool to see how far Buzz has come since the first movie.
Yeah, he's really on top of himself. Andy? Or Andrew?
That's the second time. You did that last time.
I did that last week, too. Andrew?
Yeah, I'll take it. I liked it when they crossed the highway.
That's a good
When they
one.
crossed the road. That was very funny.
That's classic.
It's classic, and I will say that my second favorite one was when they're in the toy aisle. No, it was when the new Buzz, the new Buzz was like facing off against Zurg, and it's like reminiscent of Star Wars. And
You mean an exact parody of Star
Yes.
Wars?
Yeah,
with
it's kind of funny
I
be-
am your father.
Because
Loved it.
Buzz is kind of this weird amalgamation. His whole universe is an amalgamation of like Star Wars and Star Trek. You know,
Yeah.
it's just this weird mesh that just kind of works perfectly.
Well, and they do that whenever they're playing catch. Fake Buzz and Zurg are playing catch, and he's like, "You're such a great dad," and then real Buzz
Such a great dad.
says something like, "We'll see you later," and he throws up the "Live long and prosper" sign.
He does.
It's the first time I've noticed
He
that.
does that in the
He
first
did
one
that,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
he did that in the first one.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
Yeah, he
does.
goes, "You're a sad, strange little man. You have my pity."
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
It's a great little one. I like Woody sort of exploring his merchandise that's all based off him.
Yeah,
you know,
that's a cool
looking
moment.
like I'm on a yo-yo, and him doing like this the little snake in my boot toy that looks like a Happy Meal toy that you would
Yeah.
get. You know, like and the record player, all this stuff, all this cool merch based on Woody that like I wish some of it was like actual real merch you could get.
Well, it became real merch.
Some of it did.
You can go buy Bullseye and Jessie and all that mess.
But
I don't know if you
also,
can buy Stinky Pete, but who wants that?
But yeah, that we talked about Buzz. You talked about them in the toy store. That's good. That's great.
That's good dynamic.
I like the opening too of like a video game that Rex is playing.
Yeah, I love that Rex becomes addicted to video games in this movie. Even when they're crossing the highway, he's thinking in video game terms. He's like, "I need more health packs."
Yeah.
Well,
can't-
I think this is probably the best Rex in the movie. Like, he's just so good throughout the whole thing. So when they're running to find Al's toy barn, and he's got his disguise of leaves, and he's running, and they all just blow away, and he's just got that one leaf at the end, and he just throws it and goes. And then I think my favorite part is with him is when they're about to cross the street, and that can gets run over, and it gets crushed, and it
Oh,
flies
yeah.
right in front of him, and he goes, "Well, we tried," and then he just walks away.
Yeah. How great a casting was Wayne Knight.
Oh my
Oh
god,
man, perfect.
They even kind of made Al look like
Yeah.
him
my
a little
wife,
bit.
my wife goes in this movie. Wayne Knight plays himself.
I mean, he honestly kind of has the look. He's got the pudgy, older, balding guy.
John Lasseter said that the character is loosely based on him, the character of Al.
Yeah.
Because he was obsessed with collecting toys up into his early 30s, and his kids would come to his office and want to play with his toys, and he would like get onto them.
Yeah.
For like messing up the quality of these toys that he had like saved and were in the box and stuff. And then it like hit him at some point. He said it just hit me one day that like I'm preventing them from doing what these things were made to
Exactly.
do, and that's to be played with. And he says, so Al's loosely based on my perception of me at that
Yeah.
age in my life.
And it makes sense.
And
I
Wayne
mean,
Knight's the perfect voice for that.
a lot of these toys that people collect, they're not really ever going to be worth much. It's rare that some people, now there are toys that do become worth a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
But it's not that common.
It's not-
many, and that's why they're worth so much. Like most people just collect toys just for like nostalgia purposes or whatever. But like, let's be real, you could open them and play with them. You're not going to lose anything.
No, especially if you have no intention of ever selling them.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Beanie Baby thing. Like everyone was convinced, but like no, there's so many of them, they'll never be worth anything.
Yes. They are. It's kind of funny too, because like I have tried to track down some Beanie Babies that I had, because I wanted to have them for the future.
Yeah.
But like it is hard to find some of them. Like some of them weren't that commonly printed, but I remember having or seeing friends with them. But collecting toys is a real serious business too, though. There is a level of sort of scariness to it. Because people get really, really, really specific on what exactly qualifies as like mint and perfect. Any type of collector.
The closest thing I can relate to that I think we all do is gathering those little Funko Pop toys.
Oh, yeah.
And like that, they're not worth anything. They're just for fun, and they never will be worth anything.
But
because they're nerdy Beanie Babies.
It is. It's just a new variety on the same thing we've done before.
They're like nerdy Precious Moments dolls.
They are really that.
Like I look at them. I'm looking at the shelf where we have a lot of them, and it's like none of them have been opened, but really not for any reason.
No,
and the part
it's just a mental thing. Is like I don't want to touch them. I want to leave them mint.
Something about them is aesthetically pleasing though, and they're worth getting. It's not like they're not like toys. Like you couldn't really play with them.
No,
but they.
Yeah, well, we're adults, so what would we play? You wouldn't.
Well, you wouldn't. But even like if you give them to like a kid, like they're not really toy that you could play with. Most of them are bobbleheads.
Yeah,
or a lot of them are bobbleheads, and the rest like they can't move them around. They're not opposable. There's just something about them that's just kind of like, oh, this kind of looks nice, and it's just like there's one for every movie.
Just nerds like us.
Yeah,
that's closest I can relate to Al, and I certainly wouldn't hire any eccentric old man to fix them if they broke. No, just throw them away.
The three of us. I don't think you've ever been there, but the three of us have gone to a toy museum here in Oklahoma.
Oh yeah,
and he's an excessive collector. Do we think that he would? You think he would ever like steal a toy? I don't think he would. He has such respect.
Like Al stole Woody?
Yeah. He has such a respect for toys.
I don't want to like throw any random people under the bus.
Right.
What do you think?
I don't think any collector who's really doing it for the love of the game would ever steal.
This seems like a unique scenario where Woody is a once in a lifetime find for this situation, and he's not just selling them to anybody. He's selling them to like a museum,
right?
As opposed to like just selling them to another collector.
Well, if anything, if I want to take my if I was getting rid of my toys, the first person I would take them to is him. Like I would give him my toys because I know he'll take care of them.
Yeah,
and I know like
he wouldn't want them,
and he would want them. I mean, like, but like, you know, we've been through that toy store. We've been through that museum, and like he said his favorite toy was like the chunk of meat that Rocky was punching on.
Yep.
And I'm like, who has that?
Him.
Yeah, he does. Still in the box. Mm-hmm. So he would take care of it.
Yeah.
But other new characters that we get in this movie are Stinky Pete, voiced by Kelsey Grammer, Joan Cusack as Jessie, and we get Bullseye, who doesn't really have a voice, but is a little stuffed horse.
Oh yeah, and we also get Barbie as a new character, and
you brought up an interesting thing about Barbie and how Mattel didn't want it.
Yeah, Joss Whedon was brought in on to script Doctor Toy Story 1, right? Mm-hmm. And he really wanted to add in the Barbie character for Toy Story 1, but Mattel absolutely did not want to license Barbie for the movie.
Yeah, G.I. Joe was the same way.
G.I. Joe was the same way. And I remember reading that Mattel, with Barbie in particular, was like, no, because we want when a little girl plays with a Barbie doll, we want that world to be what she's created. And when you take a doll and give her life, you potentially ruin that child's view of what that toy is. And that's a little intense for me, but that was their reasoning.
Yeah, you create a concept for how that character has to act.
Exactly.
If we gave say kids in like a third world country or something a toy of a character they don't recognize, you just give them like they don't recognize Donald Duck. Say you give them Donald Duck and let them like whatever they do, that's their version of Donald Duck. But we perceive Donald Duck as acting a very specific way because we've seen this character over time. So if you were to give us a Donald Duck as a kid, we'd make him act like how we know Donald Duck acts. He's going to be wild and crazy, and he's going to he's going to want to get in fights and stuff like that. We have that preconceived notion about that's how the character works, and they didn't want to do that to Barbie. She's anything. Barbie can be anybody.
Yeah, she's whatever each kid wants Barbie to be.
Do we know what the change was?
They also thought the movie wouldn't work. It'd fail.
Well, I don't... hang on. I just think I saw... I don't know. I mean, Barbie branched off into her own cartoons and stuff like that. So maybe it eventually came down to, well, I mean, we've already broken that rule ourselves, so why not let her be in this big movie?
Yeah.
I think that was a part of it too, though. It's just they thought the movie wasn't going to succeed, that it wouldn't do well.
Yeah,
and when it did so well, they were like, "We got to get in this now." Like, we have one of the most recognizable toys in the world, and it's not in the movies about toys.
Yeah.
So Barbie finds her way in there.
And the company behind G.I. Joe didn't want G.I. Joe in the film because the purpose of G.I. Joe was to be blown up by Sid, and they were like, we don't really want to put our toy in there and then have you destroy it.
Yeah, that's why we get Combat Carl.
Yeah, which I learned recently Tom Hanks is the one who came up with Combat Carl. They were like, we can't call it G.I. Joe, and he was like, how about Combat Carl? And they were like,
that's good, that's
Tom,
good.
that's
Tom,
what we hired.
look at you, Tom.
Cool, so that's a little history of the actual licensed toys in Toy Story. I think Barbie is the only licensed toy that appears.
Well, Mr. Potato Head, I think, is licensed.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I don't know if that's a generic or if that's like if Mr. Potato Head's like a copywritten thing.
I think it might be.
Could be.
Mr. Potato has been around for a while.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to think of another one who might be in there. I mean, there are
Little
those
Army Men, but
the Little Army Men,
it's kind of
the
like
Barrel of
generic.
Monkeys.
Yeah.
Those are kind of
Those are kind of generic classics.
Mr. Mike and like the Speak and Spell. Those are kind of like, I'm sure those are trademarks.
Mr. Mike, wasn't that
The Etch-a-Sketch.
The Etch-a-Sketch
the Etch-a-Sketch,
Yeah.
Mr. Mike was like a Stretch Armstrong ripoff, wasn't he?
No,
That's
Mr.
how I
Mike's the
thought.
guy who has like the little. He's a little
Oh, the
microphone.
Mike. Who's the guy I'm thinking in Toy Story 1?
Little Muscle Man.
Yeah, that's got to be a Stretch Armstrong ripoff.
I think that was what it was
anyway,
too.
I digress.
And there's one more I'm thinking, like Slinky Dog. Maybe
Slinky Dog, yeah.
Was Slinky Dog a thing?
I don't know if there was like Slinky Animals. I never saw one as a kid.
But I mean,
so I'm sure
Slinky.
somebody made something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
They did use the word Slinky. That's got to be copyrighted.
And Slinky's
trademark.
trademark. It's like this, at least the 70s.
any other favorite aspects, favorite parts in this movie?
I really liked Wheezy.
Oh,
Wheezy breaks my
Wheezy.
heart,
Wheezy.
and then he rebuilds it at the end. But
Yeah.
like when Woody finds Wheezy, that is one of the saddest moments of the movie. He's just so upset, and everybody thought Wheezy was gonna go get repaired, and he was just like, "No, she put me up here and forgot about me, and the dust makes my condition worse."
Yeah.
It-
And maybe the saddest part is all his friends forgot about him too.
They
Yeah.
did. They straight
They're
up
just like,
did.
we just thought that you got taken to get fixed, and he's like, nope.
Yeah.
No, she just said that. And I like that also up there you can see that there's like maybe a broken Magic 8 Ball. There's one of those ring things you give babies, but it's missing a ring, so it's kind of pointless. Yeah, there's some old books that have probably had pages ripped out of them. Lots of different things. They really create this universe. That's one of my favorite things about this movie. Is they really expand this universe to all these elements of things that, like, if you were a toy, these are the problems, these are the situations that would be important to you. Being shelved is like a really bad moment. That's essentially you being, like, I don't know, forced to retire, handicapped in some way, like in some kind of like terrible accident, and then you get put on the shelf and you're not available anymore. And even a yard sale being literally the most terrifying day of your life if there's a yard sale. And creating and sort of expanding this concept of the collector, of there being more out there, and presenting the questions that we end up kind of getting answers to in Toy Story 3. Sneaky Pete says, you really think Andy's going to take you to college? You think Andy's going to take you on his honeymoon? Like, you are designed to be thrown away at some point. And I just love that.
True, buddy.
I just love that
Not true.
Woody ultimately comes to the realization, like, I would rather live a fulfilling I would rather live like a fulfilling short life than a prolonged hollow one.
Yeah, that's the ultimate realization.
And it has to be
Better to have loved and lost than never have loved at all.
Yeah, he could be a dork.
Or it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved a doll.
No.
I was really proud of that.
I'm very happy. We're gonna bring that back like John Wick June.
John Wick June. John Wick June.
I just want to point out that Toy Story 1 came out in June, so it was not John Wick June.
No, it was
Nope.
John Wick June.
Nope.
John Wick June.
But
Okay,
Keanu is going to be in the franchise. So
He's
that's how
definitely
it,
in the
Keanu is
that's how it
now
ties
part
in.
of Toy Story
That one's
universe.
going to come out in
That's
July.
how it ties in.
So there we go.
That'll
Or
be
maybe
on
it's Keon June.
Whoa, Keon June. Keon July. Anyway,
But yeah, the overall message and the heart that aspect. That's why I call it heartwarming. It's because it genuinely gets you to a point of like you kind of understand why Woody would make the decision initially to go, right?
Yeah.
Like Andy's getting older. I'm torn up. I don't got that much long. There's not that much longer left to go. Maybe the best thing for me is to go. And then he has to like relearn what he spent the whole last movie convincing Buzz of. Like the whole point of you being here is to entertain a child and to be a part of his imagination. It's
right. And his whole
great
conflict
whole
is based in his Woody's inherent flaw, which is his need for validation, and which turns to selfishness at times. Woody, when he decides, forget Andy, I'm going to go with Jessie and Stinky Pete and Bullseye, it's because he says they need me. They need me to be able to go to this museum. So he feels needed and validated, and that's his character flaw. That's what he always wants.
And there's an element,
and he doesn't get that from Andy right now.
There's an element of charity to it. He's seen, when you guys maybe can get into your Jessie conversation here, he's seen what this life of not being owned and being stored basically has done to Jessie. It's turned her into a very broken toy, not physically, but emotionally. She's like terrified of being in storage again, and I think that any toy would be terrified. They get into this in Toy Story 3 of like the idea of just being put away in an attic somewhere and never played with again. Would be for a toy essentially as close to death as you can get, and she's been through that time after time. Every time they think that they've found a Woody or something, who knows how many times this has happened, and they get brought out again and just to be put back away. So he's like, I can't do that to them again. You know, like I have to put to a certain extent, he thinks like he's putting himself last in that situation. Like I would love to be back with Andy, but I can't do that to these guys, my new friends.
Right.
So it's a very not relatable is kind of the wrong word, but it's a very like, somehow you definitely understand everything they're going through. And it's a situation where a sequel, I think this is a movie that like when we talk about what a good sequel is, this should be one of the foremost examples of what a good sequel is, because your characters unlearn, they're kind of unlearn and have to relearn what it is that made them who they were in the first movie. Kind of changes who's having the problem. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we talk about that more some other time, but it's just good from every aspect.
So in this movie, I don't like Jessie. I don't like her.
Okay. Yeah, I get it, and I get it.
I'm not necessarily faulting her, but I don't like what she's become. That'll be my introduction.
All right, Garrett.
Do you want to give like your full synopsis and background of why?
I think Jessie is, to start. So I'm going to talk about Jessie pre her decision to go with Woody. From meeting her to that turning point, she is obnoxious. She is annoying.
Right.
She is bitter and cynical and extremely mean. And I know why she is that way, but that to me doesn't make it okay, and it doesn't make me like her. Now, I'm glad she has a change of heart, but throughout this movie, she is the culmination of what unchecked anxieties can go to. I don't like it.
So for me, and I'm being the devil's advocate on purpose, because like I have no feelings towards Jessie one way or another. Like, she's fine. I don't have a problem with her as a character, but like, you are the only person that I've met that's like adamantly just gone out to say how much you don't like Jessie. Like, I don't hear people say that. Most people I hear really enjoy Jessie,
and I can't fathom why, because she's so mean and mean.
And I think it's once people get her background and what happened is when people start to feel for Jessie. So for me, once you learn about Jessie and you take this whole construct into what a toy is supposed to be in this universe, if you take all of those two components and put them together, this is what I came up with. Jessie is a really, really dedicated and good toy. because her whole purpose in life is to bring joy to children. That is what she wants. That is what she wants more than anything. And so the fact that she has been in a box for as long as she has, unable to fulfill her purpose, and she is the only one of the group, including Woody, that has gone through this abandonment. So she has this abandonment problem already because all she wanted to do with her life was to make Emily happy and to be there for her. And then she got put under the bed and just accumulated dust, but she never lost that hope that she was going to one day come back to Emily. And so when Emily found her under the bed, she was so excited. They got in the car and they went on a drive, and she was just so happy. And then she was put in a box and donated away and never came out of this box. So for me, when I look at Jessie, the only thing that she knows that she can do is to satisfy a kid and make them happy. So for her, the only prospect that she has is to go to this museum, because there, every single day, she will have the ability for kids to come by, see her, and put a smile on their face. That is the only option that she has. There are no other options for her. It's museum or box. And she wants to satisfy her ability as a toy to make other kids happy. So when Woody comes in, that is the only option that she has to fulfill her goal of being a good toy. And so that's why she gets so frustrated with Woody, is because for her, it's, I can go to this museum and make all of these people happy, and by doing that, I will be doing my job as a toy. And I don't have any other options. It's this or the box.
And you're taking that from me.
Exactly. And so at the end, whenever she is presented that option of going home with Andy, that's whenever you see that change, because now she has the ability. Again, now she has options. She doesn't want to go to the toy museum, but that was the only option that she had.
Well, she still has to be talked into it, because she still doesn't trust anyone.
Right, and that is why she's mad at Woody, because she already knows what happened. So she is bitter and upset, but she still wants to fulfill that need. And because she's been so far away, and who knows what the prospector has said. You know, he's incredibly manipulative this whole time. So he could have gotten it in her head also, and kind of what he was trying to do with Woody is, you don't want to go back to this person. She donated you. She threw you away. That's what every kid is going to do. You go to this museum, and the prospector, or Stinky Pete prospector, I called him prospector the whole time, he is bitter because he was never purchased.
Yeah, he's never
he was always in his box, never purchased until this. And so he could have been manipulating her. Who knows? That's speculation, on Your Honor. But for me, that is why she is that way, is because she wants so much to make kids happy, and the only option that she has resides so much in Woody. And again, because of her trust issues with people, is why she gets mad at him. Is like, this is our opportunity to make millions and millions of kids happy, and you're gonna go back to the one kid who, in my experience, has thrown kids away and thrown you away. But then again, he gets into her head. He is like, come with me, and he will play with you. And then she was like, that's what I want. And so I think that there's a lot of different depths to Jessie, but I think it all overarches to, she just wants to make a kid happy. That's what she longs for, and that's why she gets so frustrated and reacts the way that she does to Woody, because that is literally the only option she has, or she goes back in a box.
Yeah, I agree and understand all that. I just think she handles it really poorly, and it makes her not like.
But like, what else would you do? If you were in her shoes, how would you handle that situation?
Here's what I want.
Well, you certainly wouldn't attack Woody the way she did and try to sabotage him.
Here's what I'll say too, is that
she didn't turn off the TV, but she tried to sabotage.
Jessie sort of fulfills a similar role to Woody in the first film. Woody's very not. I mean, he's very antagonistic. He's critical of Buzz the whole way. Like, even after they get captured and go to Sid's, he's still, you're such an idiot. And like, he's just mocking him the whole time. And so that's a dislikable element of Woody's character that's sort of extended from his feeling of self-importance. Jessie kind of serves as the main source of conflict for Woody in this film. Now Woody's the one who's being presented with, I have a goal that I'm trying to achieve. I gotta leave, which is what Buzz wanted to do in the first movie. That I leave and get back to his mission that's not real. And as far as Jessie concerns, Woody's mission isn't real. Like, you're a toy. You're not gonna climb out of this building and get back to your owner. Mm-hmm. Like, he doesn't want you. You're broken, and he threw you away, as far as she's concerned. And so that we needed that source of conflict before you get the reveal of Stinky Pete as true villain. Yeah. Because, like, we have sort of an existential villain of Al, who they really don't have any way of combating. But Stinky Pete comes in, and it turns out he's been pulling some strings, being a bad guy this whole time. And it's kind of our first real villain for a Toy Story franchise, which we would get another one. Right. Some might say an even better one in Toy Story 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she does play that role, and we talked about how in that first one, Woody is a jerk. Yeah. And I think Jessie's a jerk. Yeah. Like, then both those characters have their turnaround points where they come back to the light, but it doesn't make their behavior excusable.
No, it just makes it relatable.
Exactly. She is relatable, and I understand where she comes from.
Yeah. It's not necessarily...
She's just so mean to Woody. Yeah. I think more mean than
Woody was
to Buzz. Yeah. I mean, she shot a gun at a target of his head.
Yeah, that's one of those situations where I go, what? The owner comes, Al walks back in. What does he do? The heck? How'd this precious dart get out of the gun? It's not supposed to leave the gun.
And if you're on Team Woody this whole time, Pete and Jessie are holding him against his will for a lot of the movie.
Yeah, well, yeah, somewhat.
So Jessie and Pete kind of hit the same turning point at the same time where they diverge. She goes to the light side and he goes to the dark. But up until that point, they're both kind of this neutral, like, not trustworthy. Yeah. I see them anyway.
Well, yeah, they're definitely trying to...
Do you have anything to say?
You gotta have no opinion again?
I have no opinion. No, I've just been listening about how to perceive... Jessie, and I'll be honest with you. Whenever I first saw Jessie, I don't know how I really felt about her. I really didn't. I didn't know whether I liked her or whether I hated her. Mm-hmm. I did think she was annoying as hell because she was like, she was being mean with him. And as soon as Woody said, now I can go back, all of a sudden her personality just changed. It's almost like she's bipolar. And she got really hostile and really hateful, and it made me not want to like her. So, in terms of like how I feel about Jessie, I'm really just kind of neutral on Jessie. I feel like she's just another character in this. Mm-hmm. She eventually becomes a love interest to Buzz.
Yeah,
but we don't really know that until later, and that kind of. I feel as if they're trying to make a purpose for her. Does that make sense?
No, it does. Her journey in this movie is a good journey. But it's not the part of the journey where I think you're supposed to like her.
Yeah.
That's my standpoint. I think you do like her once she makes her evolution. And I do in Toy Story 3.
I think her development...
Yeah.
I think what I want to speak about her development, if anything, is that her development is... For starters... The entire character development in this movie is really good.
Yeah.
For a cartoon, more or less, because you don't normally see that. But like this in particular, I think especially with her, is that she changes just really, really quick, and I'm just like, man, I don't know how to feel about that. And the Prospector, never saw the Prospector being evil. So that's my 2 cents on Jessie, is that I really didn't start to sympathize with her, quote unquote, until Toy Story 3. Mm. And that's...
You never saw the Prospector as being evil?
I did not see it initially.
Oh. Right, until the twist.
Yeah. Until the twist.
No, yeah, he doesn't. He's a very good actor. Not Kelsey Grammer, though he has, but...
Yeah.
Pete is a good actor.
Yeah. He's playing this
trying to make it sound like it is for a greater good when it's not. It's because of his insecurities that he is a terrible toy.
Yeah.
that no kid ever wanted, which is why he's still in the box.
No, that's it. He gets a fate worse than box.
Yeah.
He becomes owned by a little girl who's an artist.
Yeah.
He'll
get played with.
One of my wife's favorite lines from the
He
movie.
will get played with.
I really liked to talk about the Jesse's struggle. I like that Buzz got this epiphany line that he got to give to Woody of I don't remember it exactly, but the paraphrase is like, what do you want to go in a museum for? It so you can stay behind glass all day and never be loved again?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to bring joy to children.
Yeah.
You're not. You will never be touched or loved again. Yeah. And that's why I said when we were watching the movie, she doesn't want to stay in a box so bad. What the hell does she think the museum's going to be?
Right.
She will be stuck in a box for eternity.
And she's been sold this lie, like we've been talking about, that it's going to be this perfect existence of like you'll never get thrown away. Kids will come.
It'll be worse.
Crazy.
It'll be worse than a box, in my opinion, because then it's this tease of these kids walk by and maybe some of them are interested, but they'll never play with you.
No, they can't touch her.
Exactly.
Can't ever touch them.
She will sit there frozen in time. Mm-hmm. Like that's not a good existence either. And Buzz got to deliver that line that kind of helped Woody think about it for a little bit and decide, hey, you all come with me.
Yeah, and he got to do the reverse or the inverse where he got to call Woody a toy.
Yeah. Yeah, you are a toy.
A toy. Just yells it at him.
I had a question about
a good movie.
No, it's a great movie.
There's a lot of layers to it.
Yeah, I had a question about the whole dynamic of Stinky Pete and Jessie. Mm-hmm. So, in the scene where Woody and Bullseye are sneaking onto Al's chest to get his arm, the TV turns on, and that's the kind of crux of Woody and Jessie being antagonistic to one another. So Woody gets back into the case. He sees the remote of the television directly in front of Jessie. Okay. So, here's my question. Toys, they go to sleep, but they see, right?
It seems that way.
So, based on where they're all lined up, how in the hell did Jessie not see him get the remote and put that in front of her?
I called that into question.
There are aspects in here that don't make sense, and that's one of them. Like the whole toy, how the lore and how they operate just doesn't always make sense, and that is one time.
I wondered as a kid, I thought there must be two remotes.
Right.
Because it is weird, like, you know, that he got out and, like, pressed the button and then, like, pushed it in front of her.
Yeah.
Or, because she's, like...
Or even if it slid in front of her in some way, she'd be like, who would have done that other than the only other person on this shelf?
Well, and the film has done such a good job of convincing you because at this point, Jessie has been very mean to Woody. Mm-hmm. The remote is right in front of her, and it's been hammered into our heads that Pete has never left the box. So he's already...
He's
can't
already been ruled out.
Him, and Bullseye's a horse. Why didn't he?
And Bullseye was like with him.
Yeah, Bullseye was with him. So as a viewer, it only makes sense that Jesse's lying.
They present you this idea that Jesse's going to turn out to be a bad guy for the majority of the film, and then it switches on you, and it's a good switch. But yeah.
So another thing that doesn't make sense to me, and we talked about this whole concept last week with Buzz, is how does Woody not remember Woody's roundup?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me that he would not know any of that when Potato and everybody knows, well, I'm from Mattel. Like, they know, and Buzz knows.
Right.
Now why has Woody not known? I don't get it.
My only answer there is that Woody's Roundup as a show seems to be a very old show.
It does. It looks like, it's black and white.
Black and white. Woody, then we could surmise, came out around the same time. I think a lot of people have over the years assumed that Woody was either his parents' toy when they were a kid, or something like that. Maybe his mom owned him, maybe your dad owned him and handed him down. So maybe if Woody's been a toy that's a hand-me-down toy, and has never been abandoned, he's been a toy for like 40-something years, maybe it is just something he slowly forgot. He didn't have the reminders, he didn't have the extended elements to be brought in. It's possible that even whoever owned him the first time didn't even know what Woody's Roundup is either, so they never played with him as a Woody's Roundup character. He's just Woody.
I'll push back on that a little bit with, then why wouldn't Woody remember his previous owner before Andy?
Right.
Which would then, you would think, make him be less anxious about Andy growing out of him one day, because he knows it's very likely Andy will pass him down to someone else, just like the person before him.
That's why it's really hard to know. It's hard to know what the memory of a toy is.
I don't know if there is an explanation for this.
It makes me curious to know, like, is it possible that, like, toys, I don't know. There's so many different theories and ways you can craft this. I've had the idea, what if a toy, his memory only works based on the child that has him? You know,
like are they reset?
Like they're reset when
but they don't because we know in 3.
Yeah, we know in 3 that they hang on to those.
Like all our theories get confronted in different ways.
I know,
and it pokes holes.
It doesn't really work, you know. And so like it's really hard to know exactly why Woody doesn't remember. Maybe he got bonked on the head.
He did get fried in the head by Sid that one time.
Yeah. I just have another little aspect of the movie that I didn't like. How dare Andy's mom go in his room whenever he's not there and sell his stuff for 25 cents and he has no idea. What kind of shit is that? No. That is not cool, Mom.
That's so cheap, too.
It has made me think about every time I ever was sent off to a camp or something.
Hey, you know parents do that.
Yeah.
They go in and they go, what if you tell your kid, because I've been that kid, and I'm sure y'all have too, you need to go in your room and pick out the toys you don't want anymore. You suddenly realize you want all your toys. So you gotta throw some away.
You start looking at toys and going like, oh, I play with this. I play with this every 4 weeks.
Yeah. And as a parent, I assume, because I'm not one, it's like playing the Russian roulette game of like, will they remember this toy?
Right, I mean, that is true.
And you hope that they just never, or...
That's why she puts those things on that shelf.
I'm sure we've all been told, like, I'm sure a little white lie of like, oh, you must have lost that toy.
Yeah.
Like, Mom, you know damn well.
I didn't lose
You threw it away, didn't you?
I've never lost a toy in my life.
I have full inventory. And this toy...
On our last roll call, he was present.
And now he's not, and I was at Grandma's. So you tell me... Yes. Oh, your brother must have got it. Oh, the dog chewed it up. Lies. Well, I know little Daryl down the street has it.
Hearsay, Mother. Hearsay.
At least she tried to make bank off it.
She did. She tried to make some money. Good
she could have done more. Like 25 cents.
Like Andrew's grandmother yelling at him.
Yeah.
Andrew, what have you done with your toys?
My goodness, sir.
You can't even keep track of them.
What? What is this?
Some sort of itinerary? I don't buy it. You've lost all your toys.
We'll see if I bring you another bag of jacks. Okay.
How many monkeys are left in this barrel? 3? It's going in for 20 cents.
Holy shit.
Anyway. Any other Toy Story 2 hot takes, yada yada, or themes or moments to explore?
I get a hot take. Not really a hot take. Maybe who cares? I was gonna say this last week, but I think Buzz and Woody, they don't really spend that much time together in this movie, which is a travesty. I think Buzz and Woody might be one of, if not the most iconic duos in film history.
Aren't they a great buddy comedy situation?
I tried to come up with a list of like 10 buddies, like or comedy or like duos in film that are on that same kind of level in my head. Couldn't even come up with 2 others. Like I just struggled to think like who are 2 people like that's like that have that level of like perfect connection.
No, they're great. You got the dynamic of the cowboy and the spaceman.
Exactly.
Opposite ends of the technology spectrum. They've got an odd couple situation going on. Woody's a little more Felix.
Mm-hmm.
Buzz is a bit of an Oscar.
Right.
And that dynamic is always classic.
They're both natural born leaders.
Yep.
To a certain extent, you know,
they do it in different ways.
They do it in different ways. And so they naturally rub against each other in ways that are both good and bad. You really see that at the beginning of this film, where like they're kind of co-leading the room, you know, of like Buzz's harking out orders. Woody's telling him, okay, while I'm gone, this has got to get all these things. I got to get done. You can see them working together, and they just kind of make for like really good friends. That's why it kind of stinks that like Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3, for the most part, they're not together that much. And I get the feeling it's the same way in Toy Story 4. That they're not really going... They don't really get to be a combo as much as we would like.
Josh, you mentioned as Toy Story 4 is going around, there's been like a lot of conversations about Tom Hanks and Tim Allen's actual friendship.
Sure.
Do you have any stuff that they have talked about right off the top of your head that you've seen that's been interesting?
Not off the top of my head. They seem to have become... good friends over the years. They've done some interviews together for Toy Story 4 press. But they're, I think another reason why they work so well as these characters is because I think they're also a bit of an odd couple in a way. I think they are two very different people who share enough similarities to be friends with each other. Like, they're not... I don't think Tom and Tim are best friends by any means, but they seem to get along and have a good attitude with each other, despite the fact that they both are very different styles of performers. They both have different opinions on various things. But they work just like Buzz and Woody.
And that they've never technically worked together.
Yeah. I mean...
In 2000, I think, or 2001, AFI gave Tom Hanks the Lifetime Achievement Award. And Tim Allen spoke briefly at that award ceremony, and he says, people always ask me what's it like to work with Tom. Worked on him in 2 movies. What's it like working with Tom? Tom's a great guy, right? And I had to say, I don't know. I've never worked with him. Yeah. He goes, the only time I've worked with Tom is when we were working for the film and not on the film, like doing press, stuff like that. They put me and Tom together. We go out and do interviews. That's the most I spend with Tom Hanks on these movies. So he goes, one day I hope to actually work with Tom on something.
Yeah. We turned on some of the making of Toy Story 2 featurette, and there was one behind the scenes scene where Tim and Tom were in the same room recording lines, but you got to think that was rare.
And I think,
and he probably truly did work more with him during the press junkets.
Yeah, and it's possible that they did that for the promotional material.
Ooh, yeah,
or
maybe it was for a certain scene that really called for them to be together or something.
Yeah. Or they wanted it for that aspect, but it seems like Tom would come in and record his stuff. They didn't do like ensemble recordings like some animated shows do that. They do like ensemble recordings and have them actually together and sort of do it like a play.
Yeah,
but that's not necessarily the case. Pixar doesn't have that level of time, I think, or these people don't have that kind of scheduling where they can do that. Or they have to record them when they can.
Here's a fun bit. So Woody, the character, was always named Woody.
Mm-hmm.
Buzz went through a few alterations.
I've heard about these.
Huh?
I've heard of some of these.
Yeah. Toy Story is based on Tin Toy, the Pixar short.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Buzz was originally Tinny, and they decided, that doesn't really work. So they changed him to more of a space guy. And then it went from Tinny to Lunar Larry.
Lunar Larry.
Which is my favorite of the bunch that they didn't pick. Then they go to one that I very much don't understand, which is Tempest from Morph.
What?
That sounds like Mork from Mork.
That sounds like a Shakespeare.
That sounds like a totally different way they were going to go with it.
Yeah, Tinny, Lunar Larry, Tempest from Morph, and then eventually Buzz Lightyear, named after Buzz Aldrin.
Right. Which makes sense.
And Woody was just always Woody, although he was originally a ventriloquist doll.
That's true. Yeah. He was always some sort of cowboy doll.
And they changed him because he looked terrifying.
He really did look terrifying.
They decided... Well, this was when Woody was mean in the original script.
He's really a jerk. There's a brief short of him being real mean.
He was designed to look, quote, sneaky and mean. So they had to change him, but they kept Woody.
I think for the best, too. The version that we ended up with in Toy Story and Toy Story 2 going forward is just the best combo they could have crafted for these two. My biggest question with the whole film series is why they seem to be really attached to the idea of Buzz being crazy. Because they bring back a Buzz who doesn't know he's a toy in this one.
Yeah.
In Toy Story 3, he forgets they make him forget he's a toy, and then he turns into Spanish Buzz who doesn't know he's a toy. Part of me wonders, are we going to see another Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story 4 that also has no concept of being a toy? Are we going to get this again? Because that's one of the aspects of, like, once Buzz grew out of that, I really liked that. I liked that he'd kind of become one of them, and he's doing the whole thing of knocking on the thing and trying to listen, what's this new toy going to be? Are you worried, Buzz?
One of the interviews that I saw said that was why Buzz was funny. And once he became aware of the situation, it became a lot more difficult to create a funny situation for him to be funny. So that element to them, I guess, is what creates humor for that character.
Yeah.
So that is why that is recurring.
It is funny, but I just, like the way he describes things, well, slotted pig, I will tell you this, just calling them by what they appear to him. Lizard man, come with me.
Yeah.
And it's Tim Allen sort of imitating Captain Kirk delivery of addressing these things that I get the humor of it. It's just, I don't know. I really like Buzz. I kind of do like who Buzz is when he's kind of like trying to talk to Jessie at the end. He's like, listen, young lady, you have a lovely yarn of hair. hair of yarn. He's like doing that whole bit. Like, I kind of like normal Buzz. But we'll talk more about Spanish Buzz in the third one.
Any other key points of Toy Story 2 we want to talk about before we start to move on to other sections of the show?
I think, I mean, we've probably talked about this, but I just had this as an
Well, you were here for the discussion.
Yeah. But, like, I will say that one of the things that I loved about this movie, and it's my key word in the very beginning, is maturity.
Mm-hmm.
It's a maturing of not just a studio, but also a style of film, because normal animation films you think of as musicals. You think of as like directly aimed towards kids, directly aimed towards
slapstick and some dumb humor.
Slapstick, dumb humor, and with a song bit in between. Because
Musical,
if you think back to any Disney movie, granted this is a Pixar movie, not a Disney movie, but if you think back towards any Disney movie, there's always that musical element in there. Here we don't really get that.
Not true.
The one musical element that we get is very sad.
Yeah, Jessie.
It is incredibly sad. And yes?
I just want to comment on that, if I may.
Okay.
Okay.
Just like leaning in on you, really.
Well,
you were anticipating.
My fear was you were going to continue on your tangent and take away the moment. So, when Toy Story was being made, Disney wanted it to be a musical.
That's
Yes.
true. Yeah.
They wanted that. They said, all our movies are musicals. That's part of the Disney brand. We want this to be a musical. And Pixar was like, we don't really want it to be a musical. It doesn't really work like that. So their compromise was using music to forward the story in a background way, which is why Randy Newman was brought in to write the key songs in that first movie being You Got a Friend in Me and the song that is playing while Buzz has his downfall. So they were able to hit those Disney required musical cues without making the film a musical. And so then they continued.
But there is a music element. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. There's music elements too,
and that was their grand compromise.
But the other thing is that there's really in the entirety of Pixar, there's really only two movies that have done that. It's Toy Story and Cars. Mm-hmm. Now every once in a while you'll have a song that's thrown in there, and maybe maybe Coco, but like
Coco's musical.
Coco does have musical elements, but so maybe 3. But 3 out of 22.
Yeah, we're not talking about Broadway musical though, like what Disney sort of popularized in the in the 90s. Is getting back to even now. They're getting back to that Broadway style musical animated film. We're talking about movies that use music the way most movies do,
right?
And just sort of to accentuate the story, but is it sung on screen? You're right.
Yeah, no, I mean but back to what I was saying earlier about how mature it is that we're still talking about it today because of how fresh it is. I was really upon watching it this umpteenth time that I've seen it, the humor is still good. The humor is still good. The pacing is still good. The emotion is still good. And I think that's like a turning point, especially in animation altogether, because up until then, I felt like a lot of the stuff was forced almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is something drastic that happens that forces you into an emotion, and here you really do feel it. Like there are times when you just, especially during the Jessie song, and I remember watching that today, and it really made me sad. It really made me sad for Jessie.
Well, that was the point.
I know, but no, I'm like, it really made me sad.
Yeah, no, it does.
Listen, I have said on several occasions that there's no movie in the world that can make me cry and hit my heartstrings like a damn Pixar movie.
No,
I don't know how they do it consistently, but I can't think of another movie production studio that consistently makes me feel the way a Pixar movie feels.
This is one of the first of the sad montages in Pixar films. Toy Story didn't really have like a super sad moment. They had some kind of like emotional moments, but this was like, this could make you cry. Yeah. Jessie's whole song, and then other movies will just amplify that.
What I find impressive about that exact thing between Toy Story 1 and 2 is that Andrew Stanton was the only writer who returned. Like it was written, Toy Story 2 was written by different people for the most part outside of it.
including
Stan.
Joss Whedon.
Well, Joss Whedon did.
But he was
Yeah.
there.
He was there, but he was kind of script doctored.
Okay.
He didn't like. Wasn't his idea.
Right.
And that's
Basically is what I'm
all
getting
the
at.
stuff that you're hitting on, Andrew, as far as like, whatever, whatever you.
As far as whatever.
It'll make sense. As far as whatever you were saying,
There's the
Um,
aspect.
that's why I have used the same word to describe this, is because it's not just the movies itself.
Right.
It's this entire franchise spawned so many things. Like, Pixar is what it is because of Toy Story.
Mm-hmm.
Toy Story is what it is because of Toy Story. And I know that over time, like, Toy Story, you know, it's never like faded away. But other Disney Pixar movies kind of get a lot of the attention anymore, especially Cars. Cars seems to have been kind of like the profitable moneymaker thing that they really try to put their money into now. But for me, Toy Story is the legendary, will always be the legendary. And
Oh, yeah.
it's not just it's this entire, we talk about great franchises, and I've always said that Back to the Future is mine, and people talk about Star Wars, but like collectively, I feel like everyone, especially our age, really connects on a different kind of level to these Toy Story movies. And for me, that is why these movies continue to be legendary.
Mm-hmm.
2 and 3 and 4 will probably have different words. 3 definitely will. I can't predict about 4, but
Yeah.
But what I'm but to just kind of wrap this up, because I know we're almost out of time. But like, well, I mean, but anyway,
The podcast.
to wrap this up, really, what I have to say is that like, what I have to say is about, especially this movie in particular, is, you know, Pixar is now in its own realm. You know, like, you can't just say, oh, well, it's just an animated movie. There's animated movies, and then there's Pixar.
Yeah, Pixar's created a brand that you
Yeah.
recognize, and you go, well, that's probably going to be better than most of the rest. Like, my wife has a saying, the worst Pixar movie is still better than most other animated films.
Sure. I mean,
Except for Cars 3.
Cars
Which is not better
Cars
than most.
3.
I've not seen
Cars
Cars
2.
3. Did they make a Cars 3?
I'll put Cars 2 and 3 down.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember liking either of them too much.
Cars 3 was better. Cars 2 was when they went to Japan and it was all about
That one was
Mater.
horrendous.
That one was bad.
I never
But-
saw Cars 2 and 3.
Don't.
You are not missing anything.
Don't.
I like Cars 1 well enough.
You should listen to our other podcast.
I will
go back
eventually.
to that.
I've listened to a lot of them. I never got up to Cars.
But
Well, have fun.
I mean, just every time a Pixar movie comes out, it always sets that standard.
Yes.
And now, when it comes to any animated movie, the first thing I refer to is Toy Story. It's not Lion King. It's not Aladdin. It's not Shrek.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to be Toy Story.
He says Shrek.
Sure as heck ain't Shrek.
Hey, Shrek's a great movie.
It is.
Shrek is a great movie.
When we eventually when we do the Shrek series, it'll be a very similar conversation to this, but it's going to be like from the complete opposite like aspect. Like, I feel like Shrek is the sort of, I don't know what the best way to put this, bizarro Toy Story.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
Yeah.
Well, then let's. Should this have been made?
Absolutely.
oh, yes.
Yeah.
I'll say yes.
Yeah. There was no reason not to continue these stories after Toy Story 1.
They could have, if they had left it just Toy Story, like, nothing would have been wrong. But the fact that looking at it in a retrospective way, we got Toy Story 2 and 3 out of it. So, I mean, and 4 on the way. So, like, they've only gotten better with each film.
Yeah. Okay. So then let's talk about the box office history of Toy
It's
Story 2.
everybody's favorite part of the show.
I like it, and I will intro you by reminding everyone that this was supposed to be direct-to-video.
It was supposed to
Now
be
talk about
directed-
how much money it made.
It is. The first Toy Story, 81 minutes long. This Toy Story, 91 minutes long, just barely above what's considered feature length. I don't know what they added to it to take it to feature length. I do know that an early concept for the direct-to-video version was Buzz being recalled.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
Which is, I know, I'm surprised they never came back to that, but Buzz was going to be recalled was one of the original plot ideas. Anyway, box office stats, let's get into it. Toy Story 2 debuted the weekend of November 26th, way back in 1999. Ooh, what a year, what a great time. It finished with a 3-day opening total of $57.3 million. That's almost just a little over, just almost double what Toy Story 1 made.
Yeah.
Also in the top 10 that weekend was The World Is Not Enough, another James Bond film versus Toy Story.
I sense a theme.
End of Days,
Yeah.
Sleepy Hollow,
It's an Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, Sleepy Hollow. Hey.
The Bone Collector, Pokemon the first movie, Dogma, Kevin Smith, excuse me.
Smith?
Wait, what happened here?
Being John Malkovich, The Insider, and Anywhere But Here. Anywhere. So only one true sequel in the box office that week. That is Toy Story 2. In total, Toy Story 2 would finish with $245 million in its domestic haul. Add that with $251 million from overseas. That makes it a worldwide total of $497.3 million, which is a lot.
Is that more than the first one? I don't remember.
That's a lot more than the first one. It's almost double what the first one ended up making. A quick look at 1990, or let me see here. The year in total, Toy Story 2 would finish number 3. Anybody want to take a guess at the number 1 movie of 1999?
Star Wars: The Phantom Menace.
I was going to say that.
Here.
No.
It is Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Anybody want to take a guess at number 2?
The Matrix.
No, that is on the list. That's number 5.
Okay, I'm not done yet. Do you have one?
You're reading that 1999 book.
I know
right
I
now,
am.
aren't
That's
you?
why I'm
Those
reading
are all fresh in your mind.
1999.
1999.
I'll tell you, it wasn't a sequel.
It wasn't a sequel. It was an original movie.
It wasn't a sequel.
Was it an original movie? Or
It was
based
an
on-
original movie. It was not, as far as I know, based on anything, but it was also not a sequel.
What was it rated?
I don't know.
What was the name of it?
Either PG-13 or R. Maybe PG.
Let me
PG-13
see.
or is it
Let me
the Blair
see.
Witch Project?
No.
No, I'm not guessing. Let me see.
You're not gonna guess?
No.
I'm gone.
Oh.
What was that, Ready?
I
Do you
think
remember?
that was R, yeah. I'll check though.
You can get this, Josh. I think you can.
Oh, this is making me more anxious to get it. So it's not The Matrix. It's not the Blair Witch Project.
Nope.
It's not what he said.
It was PG-13.
PG-13. It is pretty
PG-13.
iconic. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Pretty iconic, 1999. Is it one of those movies where, like, it was really big then and now it's kind of like no one would really think of it?
Probably.
Yeah, I think I'd put it in. I think that it's one where you would go, like what I just did.
In terms of pop culture, it is a very significant film.
Yeah,
but I would
okay.
say there's a lot of people that are like, your average teenager today probably hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your average 20-year-old may
Can
not
I
have seen
get
it.
a genre?
Thriller?
Yeah.
Thriller.
Yeah.
Thriller.
Dramatic thriller, maybe?
Ooh.
Maybe.
I like this game.
Maybe.
Sorry,
No, I
sorry
think
to
it's
the
enough.
I think
listeners,
it's
but I like
enough.
it. A thriller that is original, not a sequel, rated PG-13. That is the second highest grossing movie.
Of 1999.
Behind Phantom Menace and in front of Toy Story 2.
It made $293 million at the box office.
I know what it is.
Say it.
The Sixth Sense.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh.
I see dead people.
Fun story.
Shyamalan. We got
I
Shyamalan.
straight up spoiled that movie for my sister because I didn't understand spoilers at the time.
Yeah.
So I had just seen it. Terrified me.
I can't believe your sister likes you.
I know, right? I'm not making.
Put you in
Careless.
bed.
I'm not-
You spoiled the greatest movie of the decade.
I'm trying.
You threw a ball at
No,
her.
I did. I walked in and she was like, "I don't want to know anything about it." Okay, and I was like, "Okay, I just have it has nothing to do with the movie." And I legitimately didn't think that it did. I know, but like, I didn't do it on purpose. Like, I wasn't being deceitful. I truly didn't understand at the time.
You were 9.
Yeah, and so she goes, "Okay, what is it?" And I go, "He's dead." And she went, "That's what?" And then she went and saw the movie, and she was like, "Yeah, that straight up ruined the whole thing." And I went, "Oh, it did?"
It changes everything
Yep.
when you know that.
Yep.
How can you not understand that?
Because I watched 90% of the movie with my eyes closed and my ears shut.
We
Lord have mercy.
we mentioned some of the other big films of 1999. The Matrix. Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me was number 4 on that list.
Gross.
The Mummy, Runaway Bride, The Blair Witch Project, Stuart Little, The Green Mile came out that year, American Beauty, and who could forget American Pie came out that year. So
What a year.
varied
year in movie history.
year
I
of
have a book about it.
1999. Where was I now? It's Tom Hanks' third highest grossing film. Number 2 for Tim Allen. 10th highest grossing film for Pixar. It is the 6th highest grossing G-rated film. Number 6. 2000. Again, it had a 2009 re-release that added another $30 million. So that's it for box office stats for Toy Story 2.
All right, cool. Well, Andrew is in charge of the Rotten Tomatoes game, so
Pass it over
let's
to
go ahead and
Andrew.
get this started.
Okay.
It's the first time he's done this one, I think. I don't think he's won
Are
yet.
you running some sort of tomato game?
What is this? We eat tomatoes.
We do not rot them.
Absolutely not. We certainly don't play games with them.
You listen to your grandmother, or I'll get the Switch.
All right. All right. Who wants to take a jab at the Rotten Tomatoes score?
98.
Oh,
Oh, man, I was going to say 97.
I'll say 96.
Shit.
So 98, 96.
No, you know what?
97?
I'm gonna say 100.
Oh.
Okay, so you're changing it.
I am. I'm changing. I'm not changing. I was leading off with
Going for the
100.
double whammy. You think they followed a perfect with a perfect?
I think it could happen. 100% is what I'm saying.
So 100, 97,
98.
98.
You gonna read the consensus?
Yeah, read it.
The rare sequel that arguably improves on its
Oh,
predecessor.
you nailed it then.
I think I'm.
Toy Story 2 uses inventive storytelling, gorgeous animation, and a talented cast to deliver another rich, movie-going experience for all ages.
Yeah,
Anybody else wanna
I'm
change
gonna
it?
stick with. I'll go to 99. I don't know.
Okay,
There's no point in changing it because David won.
Yeah.
If you improved on 100, you're
Yeah.
still 100.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess but that's a consensus.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I'll stay with 100. I'm just gonna stick with that. I might guess after Toy
Good,
Story
'cause if
3.
you change 100, I'm going to take it.
Okay. Well, be surprised. It hasn't changed. It's 100.
There you go. There you go.
You know, the
Oh.
audience score was 86.
Okay. Well,
Fascinating.
It's fascinating. Okay, so David will be running
Woo!
the Rotten Tomatoes game for Toy Story 3, which we will
Oh, I
be doing
didn't get to
next
guess.
week. So what do we rank the movie out of? Let's see, what is a good...
5 bullseyes.
Alright, I was gonna go with Cheetos, but
Oh yeah, Cheetos.
either one. Cheetos or Bullseyes.
I have been struggling with this.
Go with Cheetos.
I think I'm gonna go with 5 also.
5.
Give it. This might be controversial. I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5.
I was gonna do that too.
That's what I wrote, but through this conversation, I've talked myself into
We've
5.
talked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened to me with John Wick.
Well,
It's tough,
now
man.
I'm thinking
Like
about
these
it, I'm
movies.
like, why is it not a 5? And I go, well, I don't really have a reason.
Well, your dislike of Jessie.
That's true. But, like, the problem with Jessie is that she's a good character. I just don't like her. That doesn't make it bad.
Mhm.
If I didn't like her and it was because she was dumb, that would be one thing, but...
Right.
I don't really
think
have,
this
like-
is a good sequel, and I don't have anything negative to say.
Yeah, I don't have anything negative to say either, but it's just for some reason, I don't know. Maybe it was because as a kid, it didn't really strike me right away.
Yeah.
And so I never I had to come back to learning how good this movie was. It was the same way with the movie Incredibles.
You know
Didn't
what?
like it at first. Came back around to it, and so, now I really love them. But
I like that, and I'm going
4.5.
to stick with 4.5 for that reason, because this movie, Toy Story 2, never resonated with me quite as strongly as the first one did, or, in hindsight, the third one.
Right.
So...
Right,
Stick
and that's
with
why
4.5.
I put 4.5 initially. But like, if I look at it as a single standalone movie, not compared to the other two, then I can't give it a 4.5 just based on the other two that are, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a weird struggle.
If you had asked me this in 1999, I would have given you like a 3 out of 5. But I've the older I get, the more I appreciate
Yeah, if you
this
asked me in
film.
99, I'd be like, I don't care about Toy Story. I'm talking about Star Wars right now.
Yeah.
It's Phantom Menace time.
Phantom
man.
Menace is on. My brother let me watch The Sixth Sense.
Okay, so next week, we'll be back for Toy Story 3, which came out in 2010 or 9?
2010.
2010.
2010. A solid long time later.
Yeah, enough time
Since
later
Toy
for
Story 2.
They took their time.
enough
They did.
time later for us to all be the same age they made Andy.
Yeah, they did.
Well, maybe
They
not
really
all
did.
of us, but a lot of us.
So we'll be back with that next week. You can find us online at facebook.com/SoManySequelsPod, and on Twitter and Instagram, just search So Many Sequels there as well. And you can, as always, listen to us on the free SoundsTooth app, available on the iTunes, or available on the App Store and on the Google Play Store, and of course, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts. We're at all of those places too. Leave us a review and your comments. Let us know what you thought about Toy Story 2. We'll be back next week with Toy Story 3. And until next time...
Ha ha! Boy, am I glad to see you!